Yo, yo, yo. Hey, yo, what's good to all my heroes and villains out there? It's your boy LC. Guys, welcome to another episode of Heroes and Villains Collectibles. And yo, check it out. Today I'm going to bring you two different videos when it comes to the Avengers Doomsday plot leaks. So we got about two different plot leaks. One is going to be from the comic book cast, and then the other plot leak is going to come from Everything Always. So we're gonna see if they're gonna be kind of similar to the same plot leak, or if they're gonna be just two different plot leaks in itself. All right, so check it out, guys. Before we get started, if it's the first time checking out your boy, make sure you guys go ahead, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and let you know when I got all types of videos coming your way. All right. Also, smash that like button. All right. So each video is gonna be about 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and check them out. We're going to check out the comic book cast first, and then we'll check out what Everything Always has to say as well. All right, so yo, take these rumors and these plot leaks with a grain of salt, but they're supposed to be full plot leaks on each video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check them out. Here we go.
So we are going to kick this off with what I am calling the Avengers Doomsday basics. This is the basics of the plot before we get into the three acts of the film. And what we know is that Victor Von Doom is played by Robert Downey Jr. and that he has a bigger plan at hand, which will ultimately see him defeat everybody, win, ascend the throne that Loki sits on, and reshape everything into his own perfect universe, just like he did in the Secret Wars comics from the 2010s. Now, there's other details that are out there that have been stitched together from various leaks to various confirmed plot leaks to speculation to everything else. So what I have done is looked at everything online that's been stated. Somebody lined up a rough outline of the three acts, and I've added some of the new context that's been provided here to sort of stitch together all three acts of the film and what we can largely expect, although probably not exact because there's still many missing characters and elements and things that they're going to keep secret. So again, we're working with a lot of stuff that's officially leaked, unofficial, and parts of the story that could still change due to reshoots that are bound to be happening multiple times over the course of the next, the rest of the year before the film is out. So without further ado, let's get into Act 1 of Avengers Doomsday, and that's the debut of Doctor Doom and the destruction of the X-Men universe. So Act 1 is said to be focused on the death of the X-Men universe. So per reports, the film will start with Doctor Doom more or less winning his multiverse war against all the Kangs. And when he wins, he realizes that he needs to assemble a bunch of people across the multiverse to fight each other, and
I don't know about that. Remember, guys, I don't know if you guys heard, but supposedly the movie was going to start with the X-Men destroying. It was going to be a fight between the X-Men and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus. So that Spider-Man and Doc Ock were going to fight the X-Men because the X-Men were going to be the ones destroying different universes, and they were going to be the ones destroying Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe. And like at the last minute, that's when the TVA or Loki is going to come in and swoop Spider-Man and bring him to the TVA. So let's see if that's, you know what I mean? That's what I heard. But hey, let's see what happens.
realizes that there is one specific universe where an incursion is at that point where it's about to destroy everything. This is the X-Men universe that we saw at the end of The Marvels, where Monica Rambeau is trapped in it. Doctor Doom is going to travel to this universe, and when he gets there, he unleashes Sentinels onto the X-Mansion. Now, he isn't known by the X-Men to be the man that organized this, that pulled this off. Essentially, he shows up and saves the day and saves the X-Men. And while doing this, they obviously earn his trust. He earns their trust. And he's like, guys, I'm saving you, but also we need to get out of here because there's other things at play. There's more at play here. And this is when he reveals to them that he believes it is the MCU universe, as it's known in this universe, the 616, that is the cause of everything. And he points to Monica saying, so this all started when she showed up here, right? And they're like, yeah. Well, guess what? They sent her intentionally to destroy your universe because everything is ending and only one universe will win in the war for the multiverse. And I want to help you guys as I am on your side. And they also hurt my universe. So let's team up. But before we can do that, Doctor Doom is like, look, now we're going to come off as the bad guys, but there's others out there that are suffering the same thing that we are. And we are going to have to go recruit them for help. Among these is the Fantastic Four. And Doom is like, look, they're from another universe. I got the coordinates there. As a matter of fact, I'm from that universe. I came to rescue you first. They're going to go back to Earth with the Fantastic Four from First Steps. And all of them are going to use Reed Richards' new version of the Excelsior to travel to the MCU universe. Now, they're all doing this in sort of a last-ditch effort because that universe has also been hit with a massive incursion due to the events of Fantastic Four First Steps. So they make a saving play to escape. But again, Doctor Doom has been behind speeding up all of these elements because when he kidnapped Franklin Richards at the end of Fantastic Four, the anchor being this speeded things up. But Doom is going to spin that was a variant of him that kidnapped Franklin, which is why they believe this other Doom. He's like, no, that was the variant from your guys' universe, but I'm a different one. See, I just saved the universe. Let's all go to the 616. And now they come in at the end of Thunderbolts and the start of their incursion into the MCU. Act 2, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and the rest arrive. Now, this is where things get very interesting because we're hearing that this plays in an interesting way where we're going to be seeing characters fighting one another. And make no mistake about it, we've heard about how Nightcrawler is fighting Reed Richards. This happens when they go to the Fantastic Four universe. So by this point in Act 2, they're all friends and they arrive in the 616, and they're going to be arriving in Wakanda. Now, the Wakandans and the Atlanteans, but the people of Talcon, with Namor, they're all like, okay, Shuri has told us about incursions. She's been studying this. We're going to help you. What exactly do we need to do? And this is when Doctor Doom drops the bombshell news on all of them, including the new Avengers and the Avengers. He's like, guys, this is all the fault of Steve Rogers. You guys know Steve Rogers, Captain America. Yeah, when he traveled back through time, he caused everything to happen. His selfishness is the root cause of all destruction across the multiverse. He created the first parallel timeline that ultimately unraveled everything. And they're going to reference back to what the Ancient One told the Hulk and all these different events and all these different things that happen. And he straight up just blames Steve Rogers and goes, we have to go back through time and we need to stop him from creating all these multiverses. Now, me, Doctor Doom, I can't join you guys right now. I have to go collect a couple more heroes to help us. So you guys travel here. I am going to go on this different adventure with a couple other heroes, and we're all going to reconvene and fix everything. Everybody agrees on it, but by the end of Act 2, something else happens that's unexpected. We hear about other heroes that are assembling behind the scenes, being led by somebody that's unknown, who turns out to be Loki and Steve Rogers, who have been assembling their own team behind the scenes because they saw what Doctor Doom was doing. These guys are going to now defend the TVA against Doctor Doom, who is constantly pushing with his team to break through as he wants to ascend to that throne. So what Doctor Doom has effectively done is he's sent a bunch of the Avengers and X-Men and people he thought would be stopping him and could stop him into the void at the end of time. And now they are there, so he has to worry about far less. He's now just left with the people in the TVA, and he's like, I can take down the TVA. I can take down Loki, no problem. Doctor Doom officially attacks the TVA with all his might, and his allies, other Doctor Doom variants that have all been puppets in this grand scheme. But when he arrives at the TVA, he's met with Captain America Steve Rogers, a few of the Avengers that Steve convinced of what's happening that didn't believe Doctor Doom, but better yet, here come the anchor beings. Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, Ghost Rider, played by Nicolas Cage, Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, and Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. So the third act is a giant battle. Not only is there a battle in the void at the end of time, where they are fighting for their lives and trying to get back to the TVA because they've been betrayed, and we're going to get a ton of cameos and people there. We are also over in the TVA, where now Doctor Doom and his variants are confronted with all these anchor beings and Avengers. And the battle breaks out, and the fight for the throne is on. But Doctor Doom has a couple plans and things in his back pocket that he didn't tell anybody about. The Doctor Doom variants are very much variants, but there's one variant that nobody expected. She's not a variant at all because it's revealed to be the Scarlet Witch. After her presumed death in Mount Wundagore, Doom found her lost in the multiverse. He found her with amnesia and twisted her, made her believe that she's a completely different person than who she was, and used the anger of what happened to Wanda in the main universe to further fuel her and manipulate her into the ultimate weapon of destruction. Seeing her power, he's going to utilize that to attack the TVA in full. And ultimately, Doom ends up winning. Not only that, there is massive casualties that are going to happen. Characters will be permanently killed off. Rumors suggest, and I think it's pretty clear, that majority of the X-Men are dying. Also, the fact that characters like Bucky are a given, and a few other Avengers are said to officially be killed off and not returning. So Doom officially wins. He sits on the throne. The crown forms around him. He gets the white God King Doom outfit. And it's over. Suddenly, a tidal wave is going to hit. The entire multiverse collapses and is reborn into Battleworld. The film ends with Doctor Doom literally looking over an entire new version of Earth that includes everything ever. He thinks he's won. Enter the epilogue of the film. Doom is king of everything. He's defeated everybody, except he hasn't. There was a contingency plan. Reed Richards suspected something was up, and he made life rafts. Now, the important thing about these is that they can exist out of time and out of sync with time. Reed loaded up everybody he could, and they traveled to the negative zone, where they survived. And once they saw everything that happened and Battleworld was reformed, he sends them back to this new reality, where they are going to pretend and mask themselves as these core versions of these characters that Doom thinks are now fully under his control. And this is when the scheming starts for Avengers Secret Wars. And to make things even more interesting, this is not the complete ending, as we are going to learn that Doctor Doom was essentially also a pawn to the one and only Beyonder, who's going to be revealed to be the real architect of everything ever. He's been behind everything, watching everything, and quite possibly revealed to be the original person from the birth of the first universe, like the first ever technical god that's ever existed. And he is now looking over the entire battle world, seeing what's happened. This, of course, brings us directly into Avengers Secret Wars, which will see the Avengers reluctantly team up with Doctor Doom and variants, and all of them surviving Battleworld while also fighting the Beyonder, and ultimately resetting the entire MCU and timeline into one sacred timeline. Thank you for checking out that video.
Now, remember, guys, take it with a grain of salt, because obviously a lot of things can change. But yeah, this is just one plot leak that's out there. But he literally gave you from Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. You know what I mean? But then again, all these things can change, because I did hear certain things in a different way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I even heard, like I said, the X-Men are the ones that are going to be destroying some universes, also destroy Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe. The movie's going to open with them fighting Spider-Man. I also heard that there is an Avenger that's going to die, unfortunately, which, man, it kind of sucks. But I did hear that Ant-Man, Dr. Doom was going to kill Ant-Man, and then his daughter, Cassie Lang, she forms the Young Avengers. And that's how the Young Avengers are formed, you know, to avenge her father and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, that's just something that I heard. You know what I mean? But, oh, not bad. Not bad at all for a plot leak. But once again, take it with a grain of salt, because anything can change when it comes to that plot leak that we just seen right there. Shouts out to Comic Book Cast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let them know your boy, LC, from Heroes and Villains Collectibles, sent you guys over there. Guys, now I want to go ahead and check out one more plot leak. I'm sure it's going to be different. Like I said, there's a bunch of different leaks going around. And this one here is going to be from Everything Always. So let's go ahead and hear what he has to say about this one here. And then, yeah, we'll see what's up. So let's go ahead and jump on that one.
Otherwise, let's start with the longest one. It says, quote, "The movie opens right after the Fantastic Four post-credit scene. Sue Storm finds a hooded figure near Franklin. She attacks him, but it's revealed to be Dr. Doom, who quickly proves he means no harm. Doom explains he comes from Earth 616B, a branched version of the main MCU timeline. This branch was created when Steve Rogers altered history. In that timeline, Tony Stark grows up differently and becomes Victor Von Doom. He lives a life similar to Tony's, survives a Thanos snap, but is left horribly disfigured and kept alive by a suit. Later, a space-time collapse kills his wife and child. Doom believes Steve's meddling with time caused everything, triggering multiversal incursions that will eventually destroy all realities. The film focuses on four main groups: Avengers, New Avengers, Fantastic Four, and the Wakandan Talokan. The Young Avengers are present, but saved for Secret Wars. After the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, an incursion begins. Doom and the Fantastic Four arrive on Earth 616, Wakanda joins them, and together they try to stop the collision using teleportation technology originally designed to fight Galactus. They successfully delay the incursion twice, but the second attempt drains Earth's energy, triggering a third, worse incursion, forcing them to investigate a third Earth. A combined team travels there and discovers a peaceful X-Men universe. Though defense systems detect Franklin as an Omega-level threat and Sentinels attack, Franklin instinctively uses his powers, impressing everyone, especially Doom. The team reaches the X-Mansion. Tensions rise, but Monica Rambeau calms things down. Doom secretly bonds with Franklin, then escapes with him aboard the Fantastic Four's ship. The heroes return to Earth 616 to figure out how to stop Doom and save Franklin. All of this happens roughly in the first hour of the movie. Now, there were a ton of additional details added to this, but they don't read like a plot leak, rather just bullet points. Let's go through them. The first one is there's a character named Boris, who's from Latveria, has a part in the movie and an important role in the film. However, it's not clarified any further as to who this Boris character is, or if that's an alias for another character that we would know better if called by name. The second point is that Sam's Avengers and the new Avengers will both rush towards the Fantastic Four ship when first it gets to the 616. It'll ultimately be Sam's team that reaches there first, along with Thor, who was sent quote-unquote on his journey by love as one of the first to interact with the Fantastic Four, and basically a parallel of who the heck are you guys when he meets the Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War. Now, this next bullet point about Doom's followers is super interesting because of some of the plot leaks we've had and because of some of the details from trusted industry insiders like Daniel RPK that seem to go right in line with this. Apparently, Doom has several followers, about 4, including 3 witches who can shapeshift. In this plot leak, they're questioned if they're black swans, but they go on to say one has a purple cloak with a gold mask, another has an orange cloak with a gold mask, and the third wears a classic green cloak. And it notes in this leak that it could be Clea and Sylvie at his side. Apparently, Haley Atwell has multiple roles and was seen in a Doom costume, apparently dressed as Dr. Doom, but the context is unclear whether it was just a witch shapeshifting into her. Loki does not form a team, so there's no multiversal Avengers or TVA Avengers, so to speak. Apparently there will be a Franklin and Doom conversation that plays out. Not sure how that takes place considering Franklin can't talk yet, but he might be aged up significantly throughout Doomsday or when we get there. And the Fantastic Four, Sue and Franklin at home, and the rest of them are at a baseball game in the 828. Gambit and Yelena interact in multiple scenes. No Doom variants, but there are several Doom bots. Doom has multiple masks throughout the movie. Steve will actually have Mjolnir, but he won't have a shield, and he is all over the film reportedly. Sentry apparently has the same suit from the Thunderbolts. Ant-Man has the Endgame suit. There will be flashbacks of Doom, including his origin story. Steve and Bucky, Steve and Sam, Steve and Scott, and Lang reunions. So a ton of backstory, connective tissue, apparently according to this, between the characters. X-Men are likely from the same universe as Gambit, but not necessarily the same Fox dimension, so us assuming that it's Deadpool and Wolverine's 10,005 was perhaps not correct, which would account for their noticeable absence in connection to those scenes. The characters constantly travel between all of the worlds, unbeknownst to them, furthering the acceleration of their own incursions. Steve gets Mjolnir back from Thor. He really doesn't have it with him initially. Doom has female followers, as just noted earlier here, and they could possibly be witches. They're not random henchmen. The X-Mansion does get destroyed, which is obvious because we saw it in the trailer. It goes on to say that the only X-Men members are the ones that are already confirmed. Rogue, Jean Grey, and Storm reportedly not in the film. Reed and Doom's rivalry will begin in this movie, however, and Steve's son is apparently named James. Doom isn't even aware of who caused his suffering at first, but discovers it, and he then goes on making everyone pay. We'll see scenes between Sentry and Gambit, Sue and Namor. Doom is not a Tony variant. He has a mask on for most of the time and just appears to have Tony's face. Sam already has his Avengers team formed at the beginning of the movie. Steve uses a cracked Mjolnir, so probably the one from Thor 4. Walker will get his taco shield fixed by the Thing. Red Guardian gets his own shield, similar to the one from Black Widow. Steve's son is aged up. Teaser may be a flashback. Steve is bearded, and Doom's mask is on for most of the movie, like 90%. Gambit will also have an all-black suit and wears it in the Baxter Building. Sue has an all-black suit, not Malice, probably, and wears it around Shuri. Doom has 3 suits in the movie. Doom doesn't share scenes with Kate, Kamala, who has her suit on, and Cassie, the 3 of whom have a small role and share a scene in an apartment. Steve doesn't trust Doom from the start, which leads to clashes amongst others, and ultimately, Doom then later on finds out what's at the root of all his suffering. Obviously, it's implied to be Steve Rogers initially staying with Peggy Carter and creating all the incursions. Now, between the first plot leak and these added details, both of which seem to have surfaced either on 4chan originally or posted anonymously, there are some very interesting things in here. Some details coinciding with things that we already know that make sense, like Daniel RPK's plot leaks about a female sidekick or several, all having different colored cloaks alongside Doom. He actually thought they were Doom variants, but now it's being reported, no, they're separate characters, and I actually think that the likelihood that Doom is not working completely alone is actually probably pretty high. It's always been Marvel's way to have some lesser villains, if you will, villains that can be defeated or interacted with first, sort of avoiding the major battle that you expect at the end of the movie. These three witches could play those characters. Of course, Haley Atwell dressed as Doctor Doom, well, that could very easily be one of the witches shape-shifting, and it's not implied exactly who these characters are, but as it's mentioned in the leak with a question mark, could it actually be one of Clea's characters? Well, that would actually make sense, meaning that Doctor Strange is already working alongside Doom by the time we're introduced to Doctor Doom now in Avengers Doomsday. We don't know where Doctor Strange has been this entire time, but keep in mind, A, he was corrupted by the Darkhold, and B, he was ready to take off with Clea pretty quickly. He may not have trusted what she said, but he was ready to face it head on and try to fix an incursion, took off into the Dark Dimension last we saw him. So if she was already working with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange's alliance could already be forged when we pick up with Avengers Doomsday, which would A, explain where he's been, and B, explain why Doctor Strange ends up his sheriff in Avengers Secret Wars as he did in the comics, because they're ultimately already working together. And while we've sort of supposed that Tony's face will be the thing persuading the Avengers, or at least Steve Rogers, to join his side, and then have Bucky and Sam's version of the Avengers both join Steve, because they might not trust Tony, but they would trust Steve, this leak or these details implying that Steve doesn't really trust Tony himself, it could be Doctor Strange that's the one that brings them all together, because they might trust Strange. Although Captain America, Steve Rogers didn't have a lot of overlap with his character, presumably Wong is on Sam's Avengers. And if Wong is on Sam's Avengers, then it wouldn't be that much of a jump to see Doctor Strange show back up after he hasn't been present for a while and convince Wong to join their cause and join their side, especially if they're the only ones who know what's going on in terms of incursions in the multiverse. Now, as far as the overall believability of that plot leak or some of these details, I will say that you have to get wary at this point of any of these new plot leaks that are going to come out, because really they just serve as amalgamations of all of the things we've heard leak out before them. It wouldn't be that hard right now to scour ChatGPT and tell it to say, hey, grab all the Avengers rumors you can find, then write a plot leak based on that. And of course, ChatGPT did exist around Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and people were still doing that, but you have to be skeptical, especially with anonymous stuff, which we will be in this case. However, what I have found so interesting about all of these quote-unquote plot leaks that we've been covering at the channel, basically including today's, is that everybody seems to have the first act or the first half of the movie. No one has definitively really talked about how this movie will end. There has been one plot leak from an industry insider, or rather a new Twitter scoopster with an unproven track record, who said that the quantum realm could be one of the places some of the heroes could escape to when the entire multiverse collapses. It could be based on rafts that were built by Obi at the TVA. It could also be some Pym-Tech technology that helps them hide there, and that's where the young Avengers might actually end up in order to come from basically the outside in and attack Battleworld, helping the heroes that are caught there within who don't have any memory of the world before them. But I gotta be honest, I didn't like it the first time I heard it. That's why we actually didn't cover it, because it really is just like using the quantum realm the same way we did in Infinity War to avoid the snap, to avoid the collapse of the multiverse this time, and then have heroes trapped there, well, not Ant-Man this time, but his daughter, to be able to maneuver around and come out of Battleworld and make a plan. I'm just not buying that. I think that's too much of a parallel of that plot device where Ant-Man was in the quantum realm, now to be Ant-Man's daughter, and then Infinity War, and then able to come out and jumpstart their whole time travel idea in Avengers Endgame. I don't think Marvel will go back to that well. And so outside of this offering for an ending, or what's really going to happen at the end of Avengers Doomsday, we don't know. It's the same way it was with Deadpool and Wolverine. Tons of plot leaks that talk about how the movie opens and what's happening in the first act or the second act, but none talking definitively about the ending. So while I will say that some of these details are interesting at the very least, and this plot leak was admittedly better written and better constructed than a lot of the anonymous stuff that we've covered in the post, where something obviously gets lost in translation when it's written, still, until we start to get concrete things about the ending of the movie, I'm not sure how much we can buy into any of these quote-unquote plot leaks. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below about any and all of these details. I am all ears as always. There is some interesting stuff in here, like I said, but what do you think is actually going to happen at the end of Doomsday? I am all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff.
All right. Well, there we have it, guys. As you can see, it was literally two different plot leaks. You know what I'm saying? Everything always had one point of view of when it comes to the plot leaks, and then Comic Book Cast had a whole different set of plot leaks. They were different. You know what I mean? So that's why I say, yo, just take it with a grain of salt because we still have a whole year and a lot of things can change. Like I said, even I heard different things. You know what I mean? But yo, shouts out to everything always. Shouts out to Comic Book Cast. Make sure to subscribe to those guys. And I let them know your boy LC from Heroes and Villains Collectibles sent you over there. So guys, let me know what you guys thought about these plot leaks. Let me know in the comments if you guys heard anything different. But yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? I know it could be spoilers. I mean, there were some good plot leaks. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, they were completely different. And yeah, we really don't know what the hell is going to happen until the movie actually drops. You know, we start seeing some trailers. You know what I mean? But that being said, guys, comment below. Let me know your point of view, what you guys think about it, and if you guys heard anything different on your end. Alright, so that being said, check it out. Hey, if you guys want to check out some of the collection, make sure to follow us at Heroes and Villains Collectibles Instagram. There you can check out some of the hot toys, some of the statues, some of the Ninja Turtle figures, some of the Marvel figures, some of the Lego builds, all that good stuff. Alright, and once again, if it's the first time checking out your boy, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and let you know when I have all types of videos, toy hunts, gaming streams, unboxings, all that good stuff coming your way. Alright guys, so that being said, this was dope, this was awesome. This has been another episode of Heroes and Villains Collectibles. I'm your boy, LC. Till next time guys, peace.